Morgan, founder of Salesfolk, and I'm here talking today with Trish Bertuzzi from the Bridge Group. She's the founder and CEO. She has countless awards in inside sales, sits on many advisory boards, and is a specialty in B2B tech sales. Hi, Trish.
Hi, how are you today?
Pretty good. I moved, so dealing with that, but otherwise great. How are you?
I'm good. Better than you. I'm all settled in.
Great. So, Trish, I'm really curious, what drove you to choose a career in sales?
So I didn't really choose a career in sales. Sales chose me. I was actually sort of adrift, post school adrift, and I was waitressing in a steakhouse, Ken's Steakhouse in Framingham, very famous steakhouse. And that was in the days, I'm not going to date myself and give you the year, but that was in the days of the 3 martini lunch. And I used to wait on the CEO, the vice president of sales, and the CFO from IDC every day. Wait on the guys. And one day the CEO looked at me and he said, "You know what? You are rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and hungry, and you should be in sales." So I'm like, hell yeah. Gave me a job. I started selling their computer installation data files over the phone, fell in love, and that was the name of that tune.
Yeah, I think that's a common trend I've seen talking to a number of people in sales and women in sales. It was really more of something that you fell into rather than chose, but you were naturally good at it and you worked at it, and
isn't that a shame though?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Because it's a great career path.
It's a fabulous career. Women are so great at it because they're relationship builders, and they just don't think of it. For some reason, women tend to go to marketing because when they think of sales, they think aggressive and assertive. And you know what? Maybe that was the case back in the day, but not now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I think of one of my favorite salespeople and sales leaders, do you know Bridget Gleason from Yesware?
Absolutely. I'm on their board of advisors.
Yeah, I think I saw that. So Bridget's a great example of that. She's very personable, very warm, very likable. And tech sales are very high touch, high value, a little bit more, I would say thoughtful or intelligent than any salesperson needs this, but it's much more high stakes than, selling cars.
Tractors.
Or tractors, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very different sale, especially with B2B in that regard. So I think more women should definitely consider that path.
Absolutely. And myself and a number of other women out there are on a mission to make that happen. As a matter of fact, I am also on the board of advisors for something that is called the Women Sales Pros. It's run by Lori Richardson of Score More Sales. I'm sure you're familiar with the group.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, she's fabulous. And there are 35 women speakers, consultants, and sales trainers in that group. And, we advocate for women in sales all the time, giving each other a leg up, educating men on how they can find women to speak at their events, or how they can find women to hire, or how do you attract women into a technical sales role or whatever. So that's a great organization, Women Sales Pros. I'm real proud of it.
That's wonderful. I'm curious, on that note, how do you think organizations can attract more female sales professionals?
So I think it's about a couple different things. I think it's about the fact that job descriptions need to change, and we've written a blog about this. And there's scientific proof that certain words don't attract women. Hunt, kill, crush. Right? Okay, those aren't the things I wanted, but sometimes, but maybe not all day for my job. So it's how you articulate the position. It's how you talk about your culture, right? So when you're talking about your culture and it's about kegs and foosball, you're not attracting women. What will attract women is maybe flex time or daycare or, a learning environment or something else like that. So I think it starts at the beginning with the attraction factor. And then, we as women, we have some work to do on our own too. So it's a statistically proven fact that Men will apply for a job if they have 70% of the skills required, and we won't apply for the job unless we have 100% of the skills. So come on.
Yeah, put yourself out there.
Yeah, go for it. What are they going to do? Say no? Probably not. Go for it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really good advice. And I think not just even for attracting women, I think that attracts a higher caliber employee to make those descriptions a little bit less bro-y, as I would call it.
Yes. Enough with the bro-y.
I can't agree more. So I'm curious, what are some of the most common mistakes you see salespeople making today? To shift gears a little bit.
Yeah. So I think, like, I'm a technology geek, right?
Yeah.
I probably, in my small business, probably use 14 technologies all day, every day. And I love what it's done for my sales process, right? So it automates, it makes me more effective, but it doesn't do the job of selling. Because the job of selling is all about conversations, right? You have to have a conversation with your buyer for them to want to buy from you. Because at the end of the day, a good product is table stakes. Good product or service, nothing but table stakes. So how do you rise above the noise? How do you become special? And I think you do that by developing a relationship with people. And to develop a relationship, you need to engage with them. Technology doesn't engage, it gets you to engagement. And that's what we need to pay attention to is, like, what is my buyer's business? How can I help them build a better business? Now I have to have a conversation with them about that. It's not about, there's faster, better, cheaper.
Yeah.
We are so focused on faster, cheaper. Please, someone, please focus on better.
No, I can't agree more. And with email campaigns that we run, and we create email campaigns for sales organizations, faster, cheaper does not sell. Actually, does not get people excited about responses unless, like, you're talking about free. In the case of maybe like Zenefits or something, but 20% cheaper, no one cares because you have switching costs, you have risk, you already know the product, you have to learn something new. So it has to be so much better.
It does.
10x better, and better in a very tangible way. And you also want to connect with the person who's reaching out versus just like just being a cog in machine. Hey, I'm a rep at blah blah blah. Instead, why don't you make yourself more human? You can do this with conversation. You can do this with email, even with like the signature line. Have a quote that speaks to your personality. Take like Hiten Shah. He has a Zig Ziglar quote. I have a quote from Lao Tzu. Like, I think sales reps need to start taking more of the mindset of consultants. Rather than salespeople. And I think like the really good salespeople do already. And
I do.
Like
I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's about being human. I think you summed that up. Absolutely, being human, being relevant, and being interesting. So I get a lot of cold calls every day. And, I'm nice to those guys because, it's what I do for a living. But if they're not interesting, that's the first thing I say to them is, what do you know about me and what do you know about my business? And if the answer to those questions is I can hear them clicking away trying to figure out who I am and what I do, I'm like, all right, you know what, dude? You call me back when you know something.
Yeah.
But then if they know that, if they're interesting, I'll keep talking.
Yeah, no, I think I always say, and it's pretty much what you just said, actionable, interesting, and valuable. So it's really all about that relevancy and like where can you add value specifically. And I think like to add something actionable to that rather than just talking, like actually having the next step in the conversation be something actionable that adds value is also really important.
What a concept! What a concept! Yes, closing on the next step, call to action. We all forget that. We're so busy touching base and paying attention to our cadence and keeping up with our lists that we forget.
No,
we're here to close on the next step.
Exactly. And I think a lot of follow-up emails really screw up because they're just hitting the same nail over and over and over to death, where they should actually be coming with new angles and new ideas. And new action steps. So if they weren't interested in the one action step, give them another reason to move forward.
Exactly.
Give them another incentive.
One of the things we do, we build a lot of sales playbooks for our clients, and each sales playbook contains a set of buyer stories. So a buyer story is, if I'm selling to a CFO, what are 7 or 8 things he cares about, and what message can I deliver that touches on each of those as sort of a separate chapter and a bigger story? Because at the end of the day, whether you're using voicemail, email, social, I don't care what you use, video, I don't care what you use, you're telling a story. So be a good storyteller. And think about that in your sales process. And it's not about, hey, you downloaded a white paper, call in to see if you have any questions.
Oh my God.
I will kill the person that calls with that message.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think a lot of call to actions really fall short because you need an incentive in the call to action. The call to action is not for a demo. No one wants a demo. But people do want like 3 tips to help them get more sales pipeline or close their close deals faster or whatever. Yep. So if like that consultant approach again with like valuable, actionable insights, if you offer something on the other end, people are more likely to follow up or respond, take a call, whatever.
You know, you just made me think of something, actually. So for enterprise software, and believe it, there is still a lot of people selling to the enterprise. There is a fantastic book out there written by Craig Kleeman. It's called The Must React System. And it's about selling to the highest level in the organization. And what you're selling is a research overview on a hot topic. So instead of doing the traditional, give me 5 minutes on your time, I want to get on your calendar for this or that, it's like, all I want to do is share this amazing information with you. And it's a great sales strategy for people who are selling into the enterprise. And it's a short book, really valuable. You really should read it. Once again, The Must React System by Craig Kleeman. Pretty good, actually.
I've never heard of it, but I'm going to definitely read it. And it really sounds a lot like my email templates that I'm already writing. I really think... So my background is actually not sales at all. It's economics and consulting, and I got into business development by accident as well. B2B partnerships, and I just did what I knew how to do with cold emailing people for looking for a job or anything, and that approach was always to share my own insights that are unique and valuable and interesting and actionable, and that approach is really what at least half of my email templates are based on. And I think that's what's different. People all want these templates that people want me to publish templates online, but you can't just publish a generic template and have it work for one business. It's really more about being like a journalist or something, or a consultant, and digging in to understand that persona, those pain points, where you tie in with your benefits, and coming up with creative ways to start that conversation too, to make it feel more genuine.
Exactly.
And authentic.
Yeah, and it's not that hard.
Yeah,
I mean, you can give people guidance on those buyer types, on the trigger events that might be happening, on the challenges they might be facing. But then you got to do exactly what you said and bring in the human part and the conversation part back into it again. Those sales reps, especially inside salespeople who figure that out, they're the ones with the great conversion rates and the great pipeline and the great close rates. They're human, they're interesting, they're relevant, they're original. It's a great time to be an inside sales rep.
Oh, no, totally. Do you know George Soto, right?
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. George is wonderful. He's like a brother. And one of the things I love about him is how personal and human he is. I think that's why he has been as successful as he has with his career. And he knows everyone because he's super human. He's super friendly and he's authentic. It's not something you can fake,
It is not something you can fake. And you know what? Speaking of George, you know why else I think he's super successful? Because he's a giver.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? Before he asks you for something, he gives you 2 things first.
Yeah.
And so many people nowadays, are just like, hey, I want to be on your blog, or can you review my book, or can you review my product? And I'm like, do you even know what I do? Well, no, but I want to get at your audience. Yeah. George is the opposite thereof. He gets, you have to be a go-giver, right? You have to give to get. And I agree with you. I think his authenticity and his attitude and his absolute passion for the field he's in, That's why he's doing so great.
No, I think so, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think on that same note, I think there is a balance too. And George and I we both struggle with this where you give too much sometimes and then you derail yourself. So I think like there is a balance where you still need a certain amount of strategy, but even in a single email, you can give and take. You can give value in a cold email that is totally free right there with one sentence that's a tip or advice or just an idea, something valuable, or a compliment, something. Yeah. And then maybe you don't even ask in that email, maybe you ask in the next one, but the ask should be smaller than the give.
Yeah.
It should be like a big give and a small ask. And you can alternate those things around and play with them. It depends on the persona you're going with as well and where you stand, but I think that's really a big part of what's missing with most emails today.
You know what, Heather? I am so going to liberate that from you. The big ask, the little give, alternate them around. That was brilliant. Thanks for that.
Well, no, I'm really enjoying this conversation. I'm glad we're getting to have it. I think we're bouncing some great ideas off of each other.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Same here. I learn every day, so this is wonderful. Yeah. I'm really curious. So you've worked with a lot of organizations on ramping their teams and training their reps. What have you learned over the years about what makes an organization successful? Is it really, and this could be down to like the individual reps hiring, or this could be the whole organization, but what are just some things you've learned that will help organizations be more successful with hiring? And not just hiring, ramping those hires.
Onboarding?
Yeah, onboarding.
Yeah. I have to say, onboarding is this ginormous area of weakness. Yeah. Because here's the problem. We agonize over hiring the right people most of the time. We bring them on board, and then we fire hose them to product training and process training, and then they're like, see you later, go sit with Billy Bob over there. I mean, come on, are you kidding me, right? So I'm on a mission for this one, by the way. So if I get carried away, you let me know.
No problem.
But like with our clients, what I say to them is, before you ever talk about yourself, you have to make it all about them, and them is your buyer. Especially if you're hiring millennials or kids, pretty much right out of college. Like, what industries are your buyer in? What's going on in those industries? Who are you targeting in the organization? Do you think a kid out of college knows what a CFO's job is? No. Teach them what their job is like. Have them interview your CFO. Spend time really focused on a day in your buyer's life, and then talk to your salespeople about how you fix that problem and help them build a better business. You're not selling technology. You're selling a solution that helps people generate more revenue, save more costs, whatever the case may be. But if you don't understand the business issue, then you're just selling features and benefits, and that's insanity. And that's why ramp time takes so long, because the kids are learning, not just the kids, but the people who are being hired are forced to learn it on their own. Yeah. And that's why ramp times are like 5 months.
No, that totally makes sense. I think, and also some of these companies don't really understand who their buyers are to begin with and don't specialize their reps. So they're having reps cover anything from small companies to enterprise accounts, from pharma to finance to SaaS, and all kinds of different personas. And when you have this happening, how are they going to learn and really get in deep into understanding certain kinds of buyers if it's just like all over the place?
I know. Well, I mean, Aaron Ross wrote Predictable Revenue, right? Especially, you guys on the West Coast. It's the Bible of Silicon Valley is what I've heard. So, what is the major message you took away from that book? It's role specialization.
Oh, yeah. It's
and it goes beyond just inbound versus outbound for SDRs, hunter-farmer, verticalizations, industries, products, you name it. Those who focus are those who win. So, you really need... And talk about shortening ramp time. Yeah. If you only have to learn this much opposed to this much, look at your ramp. It's better to learn incrementally. Another great book.
Yeah.
Agile Selling by Jill Conrath.
Oh, yeah, I need to read that. I've heard
Fabulous book on how sales reps can learn in today's crazy world. We have to learn so much, and Jill lays it out in such a succinct way that it has become the foundation for how we build playbooks and how we train people nowadays. So add that one to your list too.
I'll definitely check that out. I think being along the lines of Erin's stuff and Jill's book, which I haven't read yet, it's really about being actionable, not just actionable, but like bite-sized actionable. So rather than just giving reps or whoever something very wide and undefined to cover, to really map and define everything and Kanban it down to its core and just tell them to cover, like, and not just cover, but focus on those core aspects, maybe 3 to 5 things, maybe even less, whatever they are. I think that makes a really big difference.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So read the book. Jill's book is fantastic. But, at the core, here's her theory. Sequencing, chunks, and connections. She says sequencing means you have to learn A before you learn B. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Chunks means, just like you said, bite-sized little chunks of information, and then connections, connect the dots for them.
That makes sense.
It makes sense, but we don't do it.
Yeah,
right?
No, you're totally right. It's kind of interesting. So, side tangent, my mom is a librarian at a high school in California, small public high school, and she's obsessed with neuroscience and learning, and she goes to all these
She would love this book, then.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking about it, but she's always going to these conferences and telling me new things about learning and the brain and how to really not just like optimize how fast you can learn, but also retention and application, because a lot of times people learn things and they don't know how to apply them. So either they're useful and then they forget them and they don't retain them, or they have something that they don't even really, they know, but it's basically a waste of space. So I think it's really interesting how there's a lot of research out there that sales hasn't really been accessing that much so far. Starting to, but not compared to like what is really out there that can be used.
Well, I mean, I think the problem has always been that in the past, and this is a huge transition we're making, everyone thought sales was art, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a science, just like copywriting.
It's like, exactly. So, and then I do think for a little while the pendulum swung too far the other way, and we're like science, and that's when we started to automate everything, right? Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out. I can automate that. There's an app for that.
Yeah.
So now I think we're coming back into the middle, and we're starting to figure out that perfect mix of art and science that gets people to that successful role.
No, I agree, because you have the same thing. I was just talking with my team on Friday about this. Great copywriting is definitely like there's a science of what makes good headlines, how to A/B test everything. However, we have certain people trying to mimic us right now, and we can see where they're using our formulas, but they still suck because
I know, right?
The idea, that art, that creative thinking that took like hours, and the treadmill and that conversation, that coffee, to come up with, that's something that an Odesk worker in the Philippines or like a 22-year-old college grad or what, I mean, for the most part, they're not going to come up unless they're damn smart, and they should be doing like very well with whatever they're doing. They're not going to just come up with that, because that takes a certain kind of thinking, and I think it's really interesting to me too. I'm seeing a big change in sales, and part of this is inside sales. But just in B2B tech, good writing is suddenly valuable.
Hugely valuable. Oh my God.
It's always been valuable, but people didn't really realize that. So I see like these waves where you had HubSpot and Marketo and Acton and all these content marketing companies pushing the idea of content being valuable, almost like a propaganda machine. And now you're starting to have this wave of outbound that's coming. It's still not even like at its high point yet, but it's coming. I feel it, and I think like our business is growing a lot right now, and we're very happy and very proud about that. But it's really a bigger sign of the industry, and I've really felt this change in the last like 6 to 12 months. Part of it is the technology in which is available, it allows you to do things mass that formerly they were either had to be done one-on-one or you had to compromise the quality. So you either have this shitty generic message that was not customized at all, or one-on-one emails which are not effective when it comes to time. But now, with scraping, with all the different list building technology, and with mail merge software and tracking and everything like Yesware and so forth, you can do that optimal middle point.
You can.
And so as these tools ramp up and everyone starts using them and adopting them, the bar also raises. So what was okay 2 years ago or 5 years ago with a crappy email campaign is no longer going to get you a single response because everyone's doing that and people are desensitized. It's like tragedy of the commons.
Well,
so,
yeah. And I think the other thing is that, you know, you talked about Marketo and HubSpot and some of the pioneers in the whole content strategy thing. So what happens now? Content is the new spam.
Oh,
stop sending me content.
Yeah.
I'm begging you. If I want your content, I'll go find it. Like, what do I get? 100 or more emails a day offering white papers or webinars or whatever. I mean, like, enough with the content.
Exactly.
Be interesting enough that I will find you, right? Stop spamming me.
Yeah.
And I think content went up, and now it's down. I remember that I actually, and this wasn't that long ago, I feel like it was only a year ago, I would go to Twitter so psyched every day.
Oh, me too.
Because I would be looking for what are people talking about?
Yeah.
Where can I go to find great content?
Yeah.
Like, what's George talking about?
Yeah.
You know, what, is Kyle Porter talking about? You know, what are some of the other people talking about? And now I go there and it's all about read my new blog post or 36 ways I can bore the shit out of you. Or, it's like, what happened?
Yeah,
so,
no, and even I've noticed and felt that too. And I think part of it, it's weird. You wonder, like, is it the whole environment or is it you? Or I think it's a combination because we are also players in the environment and affected by the environment. So it's like this weird thing. But I have definitely noticed a huge switch. And I'm also just where I personally... I keep a swipe file, which I call ad research. It's full of marketing emails. And I go there for ideas. And I used to read every one of those emails, at least briefly, good or bad, and I'd put it in there. Now, I have no time. And there's just so many. It's not even I have more companies on the list. It's the volume in which they're sending them. It's like every damn day. And so many companies also, I think, feel this pressure that they need to create content like every day. No one wants to read content every day. I don't have time. No one has time.
So I got to be honest with you. I just had this conversation with someone, I think it was yesterday actually, but so we have a blog. It's called the Inside Sales Experts blog. It's excellent. But if you look at our blog, you'll see we post once or twice a month.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, I post every day. I post every day. I'll go to their blog. I'll look at their level of engagement. Zip, zero, none.
Yeah.
You look at our blog, massive levels of engagement. Because I think our audience it's almost like, wait for it.
Yeah, they're excited.
Wait for it. Yes. Wait for it. Boom. And there it is. So I actually think we're going to see a reverse trend. I think it's going to start going the other way. People are going to develop less content. The whole Twitter thing, I'm so bummed out that I don't go there with the same sense of joy I once did, so to speak. But, I think LinkedIn's kind of stepped into that fray.
I feel like LinkedIn Pulse is starting to replace that whole. And then there's some other things like Medium, etc. that I follow some people. But even that, it's like a lot of marketing sales are same in that if you're human and you give and you add value and you're interesting, you're doing well. If you're me,
I know.
You won't do well. So, like, I think it's always been that way with content and with sales and everything. And we're seeing bigger gaps where the people who do that are going further to the bottom because content marketing isn't new anymore, just like cold emails aren't new anymore.
Right.
And on top, like, the people who really nail that are doing really well because most people suck at it.
Bingo. Yeah, bingo. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned, though, about your content. So we post once a week.
Yep.
But recently we had some stuff that we were really excited about. So we posted like 2 or 3 times in a week the last 3 weeks or so. We actually saw a decrease in our numbers and our mailing list because we weren't consistent. And I knew it, but I just really wanted to. And I couldn't resist it. But
I know.
We're not doing that again because it actually was not positive. We enjoyed writing it, but we're not just writing for ourselves, are we?
No, and that's the other thing. You know, I love to read someone who has a voice.
Yeah.
A clear, concise voice.
Yeah.
I don't like to read someone who's all over the map.
Oh, yeah.
I like, so there are some fabulous bloggers out there that every time I read them, they wouldn't even have to sign it, and I'd tell you who it was, based on their topic, based on their voice. So I think sometimes companies, especially companies that are saying every sales rep should blog, every single consultant should blog, it's a mixed voice. It's a cacophony.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not paying attention to what I want from them as a reader. So I think that's another thing we need to be careful of.
No, I agree.
And I don't know how we get off the topic of inside sales into marketing, but this is a great conversation.
No, I'm enjoying it. Well, here's the thing that I think. I don't, even though some people consider me a marketer, I've never really considered myself a marketer. I am a copywriter who does B2B sales. Sometimes sales and marketing are blended together. We create content for our own site, do both inbound and outbound, but I think that organizations who are really moving forward with sales and marketing are the ones where it's more married.
Yeah.
And MQLs and SQLs match. You have a really clear definition of the buyer personas and more collaboration. So there's still a big wall and a gap between sales and marketing, but I think over time, especially with all the analytics tools and sales becoming more data-driven, I think they're going to become closer and closer and closer together.
I hope so. It's a marriage.
Totally.
Right? It might be an arranged marriage, but it's a marriage, right? So you have to make it work. Yeah.
No, that's a good quote. I like that one.
You can use it. You have my permission.
Arranged marriage. That's great.
Yep. Yep.
So I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
There's something I'm just kind of fascinated with because I'm interested in other markets, and I know that you've been involved a bit with the European market.
Yep.
And helping different companies crack sales in the European market. And that is such a challenge because Europe is so different in terms of languages, legalities, and so forth.
Yep.
I'm curious a little bit more about what your experience has been and if you have any particular advice for, say, Silicon Valley companies looking to get into Germany or the UK or so forth.
So it's actually not an area of strength for my business.
Okay. No
and the reason it's not is a strength is all the reasons you mentioned. Legal, cultural, it's crazy. And it's country to country. So what I suggest to people who are considering it is get it going on to repeatable and scalable in North America, then take it in country, but hire an in-country expert to check your process, to check your legality, to check your tone, to check your language.
Yeah.
All of those things need to be taken into consideration, and I think sometimes you either have to use your in-country team or hire some expertise in-country to do that for you, because France versus Germany versus Italy versus, China, all different. So be careful, because what you cook here isn't 100% translation to what's going to work there.
Oh, absolutely. I think localization is a huge challenge for any market. Even going, to Canada, there's different spam laws than the U.S. And there's a little bit of language issues depending on where you are. So look at like Germany versus France versus the UK and Italy, it's just significantly different. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, though, about hiring locally. And I've heard definitely hiring like local salespeople, but I've heard of a few people hiring journalists, even local journalists as
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think part of it is just also like language messaging. They're good at writing. They're usually cheap. You can hire them project basis versus like full time, but you could get them full time if you wanted them. But
interesting.
So cool. So I'm curious to talk a little bit about tools. What are some of your favorite tools? I know that you're biased toward Yesware. I love Yesware too. What are some of your other tools that you're using?
So, I use salesforce.com.
Yeah.
I use TimeTrade and Calendly. I use them differently. I use InsideSales.com. I use Connect and Sell. I use Inside View. I use Follows. I use
Follows? I don't know Follows.
So FOLLOZE. It's just something we've started using where I can create a content board.
Okay.
So let's say I'm reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And you don't really know who I am.
Yeah.
I can send you a follows board where in one click I have compiled a series or a set of content, videos, PDFs, reports, whatever the case may be that says, hey, you want to learn more about me? Here's a great way. And they can go choose at their own leisure what they want to look at to learn a little bit more about me. And then on the back end, I get the analytics. They can also, through there, get on my calendar. So if they great, you're interesting. I want to talk to you. They can get on my calendar. So, yeah, it's interesting, and we're seeing high levels of engagement.
That's great.
Through using it.
I think George has told me about that, but I haven't used
it.
I'll definitely check it out. I'm curious. How are you using Calendly and
TimeTrade?
TimeTrade. Yeah, that's what you sent me for this call.
Yes. So TimeTrade I use as my automated. It's like having a personal assistant, right? So. We want to have a conversation. I send you my calendar. It gives you 20 times I'm available. You pick. It goes on both our calendars, and it confirms 24 hours in advance. That's how I use it. Don't get no better, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I love that. How we're using Calendly is within Follows.
Yeah.
So that's what the technology we selected to use from within there. So if someone says, yes, you're interesting, you want to get on my calendar, we're using Calendly from within Follows. Yeah.
One thing I've personally struggled with, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out, is I have different kinds of priorities with the people I meet with. Some people are clients, some people are prospects, some people are more business development, some people are interviews like these.
Yep.
And although I have 24 hours in a day, I try to only have so much time available. Like, I don't want to spend more than 20% of my week on biz dev, if that, right?
Yep.
So trying to balance time slots that I'm available with that has been a little bit of a challenge. Does TimeTrade work well with that?
Well, so what I do, I use Google Calendar. So what I do is, and I'm time obsessed.
Yeah, me too.
So what I do is I block off 2 hours a day to write.
Yeah.
Because we're in the process of writing a book. 1 hour a day to do outbound sales development because I love outbound. Let me say it again. I love outbound.
I love it too.
You know, so an hour a day to do that. And then, so there's 3 hours of my day already gone, and then I just fill in accordingly. But when I need time to think, I block it off on my calendar.
Okay, that's great.
Rarely will I do back to back to back to back to back calls. You need to think. You need to rejuvenate your brain. So I am in complete control of my calendar, and I'm not afraid to block off time, to do the things I need to do.
No, I do time blocking. I do that. I put work time in purple, however many hours. I like the idea of more individual time blocking projects every day. I think one of the things is also just making sure that the BD kind of appointments don't take too many of the appointments from clients, for example.
Yeah,
so we're always getting BD requests, and so right now I have one of the employees who works for me managing that and then scheduling it. But it's also a waste of time for them. Is there a way with TimeTrade to separate what kinds of appointments they are, or are they just appointment slots?
I don't do that.
Okay, no
so
problem.
I have no way of it. That's an interesting question. And time trade when you see this.
Yeah.
Reach out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I'll figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm always fascinated by productivity. Bridget Gleason from Yesware, the VP Sales of Yesware, she really got me thinking about time blocking, and that has made a huge difference.
It really has. But then you have to honor the block.
Yeah, that's the problem. Sometimes
so
it's like,
our whole organization, submitted individually what our goals were for this year. And mine was calendaring. Like when I block it, it's sacrosanct.
Yeah.
I'm the first one. If my phone rings and I'm supposed to be doing something else and I'm supposed to be focused, but my phone is ringing. Don't look, don't look, don't look. You have to be
diligent. Disciplined,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I'm working on that as well. It's a struggle sometimes.
It's a battle for everyone, so it's not just us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this, Trish. It's been really wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. You too. I learned a lot.
I did too. This was lovely.
Thanks.
This is Trish Bertuzzi from the Bridge Group, and you should check out her blog. I'm going to be looking at it again after this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another SalesFolk interview. You can visit us at salesfolk.com. Thanks.